Hello and welcome to my fifth YouTube video. My name is Rose, my pronouns are she, her, and today we are going to be building in the beautiful world of Mount Komorebi. Mount Komorebi came with the Snowy Escape pack and oh my goodness, so cute, I love it. We had a gorgeous snowy world at the top, more traditional in the middle, and then this more modern area down in the south here. I really wanted to build something traditional amongst all of this beautiful green land. It has a river around the back as well, and just lots of gorgeous swirling paths and things. So I thought it would be really fun to build a bit more of a sort of zen escape here. This lot is originally a rental lot, so I wanted to make sure that you could either use it in your gameplay for it to be a rental or a residential. And so we're going to use a budget today of 22,000 simoleons, which I think is still quite generous when you're doing a tiny build, but obviously I don't include as much clutter as I normally would like to in this build. Saying that though, the style in the Eastern culture is quite minimal anyway, so I think we can kind of get away with it. So here I am just mapping out the general shape. Again, it's going to be 64 tiles today. I do manage to fit 2 bedrooms in, which I'm very pleased with. And I also was really keen on making sure I stuck with very obvious architectural styles from the Eastern world. I looked up on Pinterest, lots of the sort of architecture over there, and they really like extending their living spaces to the outside. So I wanted to create as many actual porches on this build as possible. Also including platforms, especially into the main living space, because I really like the idea of them having their shoes and taking their shoes off, and I wanted to make sure all of that gameplay would be included too. Here I am adding in those outside areas I was talking about earlier, and I really wanted to create a cute little bridge in between the main part of the house and then the double bedroom and ensuite. So because we also got a wall shower for this pack, which is amazing because I can just do 3 tile bathrooms, and I'll show you how to do those later. But here I'm using all of those gorgeous wood tones. So with this build buy, they really something just clicked with the Sims, and they were like, let's give them beautiful wood tones, like really gorgeous detailed grain in the wood, and it's very satisfying to use indeed, and I absolutely love it. Did you get the Snowy Escape pack, friends? What do you think? And do you have a favourite item that you love going back and forth with? Let me know. Here I am just placing the roof, and I really wanted to create that sloping roof, and sometimes I feel the best way to do this is to get a basic piece of roof, as you can see at the bottom there, make it as flat as possible, and then add the shapes on top of it, just because you get a bit more of that slope that you'd see on a lot of sort of Eastern roofing. And here I am just placing the roofing on the other section as well. I really wanted to keep the shape going and incorporate that as much as possible. If I hadn't stuck to the tiny challenge tiles, I definitely would have made the like little bridge in between the houses, or in between the little shapes there, a little bit larger, so that we could have a bit more of a roof in between those as well. I do play around with the roofing a lot for this until I feel like it looks about right. And it doesn't make too much sense in the middle, but I do sneakily put some plants on the top later, just to hide how awkward it kind of looks. But I really enjoyed playing around with this roofing, and I really like sort of creating the curves on the roof and changing up a little bit every now and then, because sometimes if you do the same roof over and over again, it can get quite tiresome and a little bit samey. So I definitely didn't feel like that for this build. I do build in Snowy Escape occasionally, but it's not my most obvious go-to. I do really enjoy it though. And thank you so much for being here, friends. I really appreciate it. If you have already seen any of my YouTube videos, thank you so much. If you're returning, that's so kind of you. And if you're new, it's so lovely to have you here. Thank you very much indeed. If you do like how the build ends up and you want to give the video a like or a comment, or even if you want to subscribe, that would mean the world to me. And thank you all so much for getting us to 300 subscribers already. I cannot believe it. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Here I am just placing in lots of windows and things like that. Again, I want to make sure everything looks very cohesive. I wanted all of the swatches to match, and very satisfyingly they do with Snowy Escape items. which is great. Obviously, if you have built in The Sims at any stage ever, you'll know that the matching swatches are quite hard to come by. So to have all matching swatches from one pack is very exciting. Also, I was so excited to see someone had suggested, the lovely Anonymous K had suggested that maybe I attempt the Not So Berry Mint House as a starter build. I think that would be super fun. Have you ever played the Not So Berry challenge? If so, friends, what was your favourite colour, or what was your favourite berry generation to play with? I never got past the grey generation when I played it on stream. I got as far as the grey generation and I got them through uni, but that was about as far as I got, unfortunately. I definitely prefer building to the gameplay. I like gameplay, but I'm just not as good at it. There's just something I just don't connect with The Sims as much as other people do, I feel, and I really like keeping my Sims alive as long as possible. I've not been very good at sort of like doing multi-generational challenges before. What is the most amount of generations you've ever done in a Sims family? I think mine was the Not So Berry challenge, so it was probably about 4. It was 4 generations. So I was pretty pleased with that, to be fair. That was a lot further than I've ever got before. I normally just keep my Sims alive for forever and ever and make them complete all of the aspirations. I'm a bit strange like that, but I do enjoy making a super Sim. But yes, please do let me know if you have a favourite Not So Berry generation, or if there is a Not So Berry generation you enjoyed playing with the most. I definitely would like to do a mint starter house at some point. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do it yet, so once I've worked all that out, there'll definitely be a YouTube video on that at some point. But that's something I'm really looking forward to doing. I also am super excited, obviously. Christmas is around the corner, it's all starting to be very festive, so I might be doing some festive builds soon as well, which will be fun. And just really play around with the landscaping as well, I'd really like to do. But here again, I'm putting in lots of like the same wallpaper swatches, making it very cohesive and very alike for the whole house. And this is how I'm going to do the bathrooms in here. So we're going to use the sink and the toilet in the end, and then you put the shower in the middle and it works. So that's a really good way of saving space for your bathrooms. Obviously, if this was more of a traditional Eastern house, you would have the toilet in a separate cubicle. But as this is a tiny build, I think we can get away with having it as an open bathroom. I hope. And then here I'm just putting in all of the clutter details. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a budgeted build, so it can be used as a starter home for your Sims. So there isn't a lot of clutter compared to my sort of usual favourite kind of way to build. So this is going to be quite basic, but I think it does the trick and it works. So that's fun. But here I'm placing in all of the things that you need, so definitely including a bookcase. We've got 2 bedrooms with en-suites, so I think that works out quite well, especially if it's a rental. And then obviously the double room has got its own little space over there. This is going to be the kitchen. I do change where that window is. I really hate it when the windows clash with cabinets and things like that. I much prefer it when they sit just flush with them or make a bit more sense. Sometimes the placement in The Sims can be a bit odd, just naturally where it would fall. So it is fun to play around with that. Here I'm just placing in lots of little details. This is about as far as I get with clutter. So I was originally going to use the shelf that came with Snowy Escape here, but when I was working out the budget later, it turned out that it was a little bit too pricey, and then I didn't put as much clutter on it as I originally thought I would. As you can see by me deleting that there, I thought it'd be more fun to put a little coat rack there, and just sort of make the kitchen a little bit more compact. I love those plates, the clutter details, those from the Snowy Escape pack. So cute. There's so many cute items in Snowy Escape, and if you haven't used it before, I highly recommend. I really do. It's a really good pack. It really obviously depends on you personally, what you enjoy doing, whether you enjoy that kind of escapism in The Sims, like going to different places in the world or that type of thing. It is entirely up to you, of course. Personally, I love it. I think it's such a cool world and such a fun place to go to. with your Sims. Here I am using, again, a little chair. I wanted a little space for your Sims to be able to take their shoes off. And I do want to add a TV in. It's a little bit of a weird placement where I've put that TV because obviously there isn't a place to sit down. But I mean, as long as they've got one, they can still watch their New Year's Eve celebrations, can't they? So I guess that works for me. It is strange how in The Sims, your Sims will not have a very good New Year's Eve unless they watch the countdown. I get it somehow, but at the same time, it is funny, isn't it? Here I am just going outside again. So I've pretty much done all that I'm going to do inside for this build, just as it's a starter build, and everything is relatively minimal in the Eastern culture anyway, so I think it works quite nicely. And here I'm using, again, I know I've done this a lot on YouTube, and I'm sorry, but I just, you know, when you just absolutely love putting plants on a roof. I'm sorry, I just love it. I think it's so fun. And I loved these swatches that came with Snowy Escape. We are only using base game in Snowy Escape today as well, which I should have mentioned earlier, I'm sure. And also, when you place down those hot springs, I highly recommend putting them in before you do any landscaping, because they actually are really glitchy. If you place them anywhere near a platform or a raised edge or that balcony, for instance, anything like that, they will glitch and your Sims won't be able to use them unless they are flush, like you can see with that hot spring, to the ground there. Here I'm using lots of live edit plants. So again, if you've never been to a YouTube video before, I do mention this every time, but it is worth mentioning every time. I love using the Twisted Mexi mods for building. So Better Build By and Tool Mod, which you might see me use later. Build By is an amazing mod that organises your debug and live edit objects for you. And obviously a lot of your live edit and debug objects are completely free to use. So in this case, for a budgeted build, is a dream come true, literally, because I can place all of this down without making any of the budget change whatsoever. So that's super useful. And in even these lovely little bamboo fence items, they're completely free because they're live edit. If you don't know what a live edit or debug object is, so a debug object is an object that your sim will interact with whilst they're sort of doing their animated sequences, I guess you could say, with objects and things like that, or things that they collect within the world. And a live edit object is something that you will see within the world itself. So say you're looking around Mount Komorebi, for instance, and you see the ski lines, or you see the trees and things like that. There will be a lot more options available to you to use, which is so fun. And oh my goodness, I am obsessed with those plants. That little plant cluster from Snowy Escape is so gorgeous. But why, oh why didn't they give us those all separately? I honestly would use them everywhere if I had like a few of those separately. There's some really cute plants in there, and I really like the one that's on like stilts as well. I think it's so cute. Right, I wasn't going to draw attention to this, but I have used those path stones again, and I know I can't help it. I do have a problem. I must use those gardens path stones, I'm sorry. I just love them so much. If you haven't, before, they are debug objects as well, and they're just honestly so fun to use. And I honestly really struggle to find builds that they don't suit. So unfortunately, last week on the last YouTube video, I did say I'll try maybe to not use them. I have failed on that account, so maybe soon, maybe, but no promises, unfortunately. I really wanted to make this look as natural as possible. I wanted it to be a really cute little stream. And the idea is that maybe it connects with the hot springs, because I thought that could be quite fun, but it didn't quite work out that way so much. Although I really liked the idea of the stream going underneath the little bridge in between the house. So that worked okay, I think. I absolutely love just placing all of the greenery and all of the outside items. When you're building The Sims, friends, do you prefer building the exterior first or the interior? I definitely love the exterior more than the interior. I think it's just because I don't have as much practice with the interior, and I'm obsessed with looking at buildings, and I think I get more inspiration from the outside of buildings than I do inside, and I think what the outside looks like really sort of tells you what the inside should look like too. Although sometimes it's fun to give you like a completely normal house and then it has a bit of a like obsession with maybe a particular colour or something like that, and a really surprising interior is always fun to do too. So as you can see, I'm about to start putting in a few more plants, and then I'm probably going to put in some more terrain paint in as well. I realise at this point I've not put anything outside and we still have some budget, so naturally let's put some skill items out here for your Sims to participate in. So you can get your logic skill and you can also get a creativity, both of which are super helpful for your Sims to get, and as you have a tiny house here, obviously your skills will go up quicker, so that's super fun. I also want to use a lot of these objects, so these are again live edit objects, and I really like the idea of you being able to see that from the other side of the build, so that is why I have put that like this. I also use a few more of these around the side just to kind of give it some more attention to detail and a few more objects for your Sims to enjoy. And lots more little details. So again, I'm using base game and Snow Escape for this build. Snow Escape definitely has some gorgeous fun swatches and things to use as well. Just honestly, if you haven't already built in with Snow Escape, treat yourself. The gameplay is obviously amazing. If you enjoy gameplay, that makes sense, but yeah, I do enjoy it a lot. Here I just thought that would look better if it wasn't so straight, and I think it did work out a little bit better there. And yeah, thank you so much again, friends. If you are still here, thank you so much for watching the build. I really appreciate it. If you do like the build, it is available now on my gallery ID. So my gallery ID is its_Tros. And oh my goodness, I was so lucky this week to receive my 3rd Maxis fave. I'm feeling so incredibly grateful. I have no idea how or why that's happening, but I feel so incredibly grateful. That Maxis would like to put recognition on my builds like that. It means the world to me, and it's amazing that you can find my builds quite easily on the gallery, that means as well. So if you are looking for my gallery ID and you can't seem to find it anywhere, if you go on Maxis's faved builds, that sounds absolutely berserk to say, like so weird for me to say, but yeah, if you go on there then you can find me. Very weird and very surreal, but I love it. I feel incredibly grateful to be even given that chance to begin with once, let alone 3 times now. I feel very incredibly grateful for that. Here I'm just checking the lighting because I wanted it to make sure it still looks okay at night. As you can see from the nighttime footage there, it just completely, you couldn't see it at all. So here I'm putting in lots of those lovely lights. Again, we had some budget for this, so I wanted to use them. I do manage to get the budget for this build at 22,000 exactly, which is very exciting and means it's quite a good starter budget too, for more than one sim. And I think that worked quite nicely. It was quite subtle, the lighting, but enough that I was happy with it. Thank you so much for watching this video again, friends. It really means the world to me. If you do want to leave any feedback, any comments, any likes, if you'd like to subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. But thank you so much again. Have an amazing week. I'll be back next week with another speed build. Here are some shots of the build in action. Toodle pip.